The jury is officially out for Devin Haney, following his controversial win against Lomachenko on the 20th of May 2023. Now, it's not so much about the unanimous decision that is in dispute, but it is the way the judges scored the rounds. One judge in particular gave it 8 rounds to 4 in favor of Devin Haney, which has drawn widespread criticism about the politics that are going on in the 135 division. Now, we all know that in fighting, the organizations tend to prefer the fighters that can make the most money for the organization, or that can make the most money for the promoters, or that can make the most money during a fight, so everybody eats, so to speak. But then, when it comes to a point where you're divided between doing the right thing and preserving the fighter that is supposed to, generate the most revenue, what does the organization or what do the organizers decide to do? Because if something happens once, you can call it a mistake, right? If it happens twice, coincidence. If it happens 3 times, you have no choice but to call it a pattern. And the pattern here, let's go a little bit back to Tank Davis versus Isaac Cruz. Leading up to the Isaac Cruz fight, nobody expected Isaac the Pitbull Cruz to be Tank Davis's most difficult opponent to date. Nobody expected it. So when the fight came around, everybody just wrote it off like, this is just another win in the bag and let's just end the night early. But as we found out over the course of 12 rounds, a fight is a fight for a reason, and styles make fights. Isaac Cruz's inside game was madly underrated going into this fight. So what happened in the fight? Nobody expected it. In fact, for many people, it was a clear robbery. The most justified decision the judges would have given in that fight was a draw. And then some fans had some excuses. Tank Davis broke his hand during the fight, and it was a fluke for Isaac Cruz to perform that well. But then the truth is, the devil is always in the detail. When Tank Davis was asked, do you want to give this guy a rematch, or it should be a rematch since all the fans are saying this was a robbery? And he said, hell no. Meaning, translation for anybody that doesn't understand what that means, it means I would rather just run away with this win than give this guy another chance, knowing fully well that I barely escaped by the hair whiskers. I barely escaped with this win. So let's not even try to go back down this route. So Tank Davis took the win and that was that. But then the jury is still out on that because everybody believes that was Tank Davis's closest fight till date. So he has to run it back as far as people are concerned. Then, recently, Romero versus Ismael Barroso. This was the most heartbreaking, gut-wrenching, the most, one of the most emotional, worst stoppages in the history of boxing. Ismael Barroso dropped Romero unexpectedly. Nobody expected it to happen because the man is an old man, 40 years old, and still banging in a division where there are young guys raring to go. It was not easy for that man to even get to a point in his career where he was fighting for a belt. That was his only opportunity in life to get close to that belt. He had worked so hard for it throughout his career. He has sacrificed so many nights without his family, training camps, everything. At his age and stage in life, that was one of the worst things that could happen to him, having put everything he could possibly put on the line, And then the ref just did whatever it is he did, and it just looked bad, terrible. None of Romero's punches connected, and the ref just waved it off, And some people said, oh, well, Ismael Barroso was looking kind of tired, but looking tired does not mean you're getting punched out. Looking tired does not mean you're not protecting yourself. He was ducking every punch, and even the last punch before the ref called the fight, he ducked it, and he was ready to go, and the ref just call the fight. At least let the man go out on his shield, if anything, I'm not saying allow them to beat him down where he's, beyond his health or something. He has fought to be here. Don't just discard him but I guess boxing is a business for anybody that cares to know, even though it's a sport that we, the fans, we admire and we watch and, we eulogize in so many ways. So the jury is still out on that particular fight. Romero, that belt he's holding is still very much in question because he was losing on all 3 scorecards, which is also another big detail as far as that fight is concerned, And then with the fluke stoppage, is come on, man. Then Devin Haney, Lomachenko, the big one. In fact, the biggest fight in the 135 division as far as boxing purists are concerned. The biggest fight as far as the hype was Gervonta Tank Davis versus King Ryan Garcia. But this one, Devin Haney versus Lomachenko, was a fight for those people that truly know boxing. In the earlier rounds, Devin Haney sort of had his way. He lost the first round. Between the second and the fifth round, he was able to put things together and go ahead on the scorecards. But then by the sixth round, that fight changed completely. He was getting tagged every single time Lomachenko threw that left hand. Devin Haney's face was like, yo, welcome. Sometimes in fights, it gets difficult when the fight is very close. You really can't see what's really going on. But then there's CompuBox for those people that say, oh, well, how can we know? There's CompuBox. And even if you cannot rely on technology supposedly to tell you everything that happened in a fight, at least when you look at what happened with your naked eye, or when you understand what happened with your naked eye, then you can look at technology and be like, okay, is this synonymous with what I saw? Does this translate what I saw in terms of the statistics I'm seeing? Punches thrown, punches landed, jabs thrown, body shots, everything, power shots and all that. So the most difficult thing about this fight was the fact that, number one, Devin Haney did not prove that he was better than Lomachenko. He did not prove it. It's unproven as far as everybody is concerned. There is nothing he did in this fight that proves he's better than Lomachenko. Absolutely nothing. That's the first point people are making. Number two, he will be very wise to stay away from Gervonta Tank Davis, knowing fully well that he got tagged so many times by Lomachenko's left hand when Lomachenko was boxing from the southpaw position, which is Tank Davis's. Number three, when Shakur Stevenson entered the ring and Devin Haney just, said something quickly to him and ran out, as opposed to, facing off and probably building up the new fight or something, that also kind of rubbed the fans very wrong because, despite the fact that people are asking for a Lomachenko rematch, there's also, giving the fans at least the hope that the fights they want to see are going to happen. Because the truth is, given what Devin Haney showed on the 20th of May 2023, he does not beat Shakur Stevenson, neither does he beat Gervonta Tank Davis. Nobody just sees it happening as at now. Now things can change over time, as we all know. Styles make fights, okay? Nothing is set in stone. But the truth is, given what he showed against a top-class opponent like Lomachenko, and you could argue Lomachenko is different from every other person Devin Haney has ever fought, so maybe that contributed. But then Devin Haney, when you look at his performance against Kambosos and his other performances, you can see that this was his best performance to date, and still it was not enough to convince anybody that he was better than Lomachenko, especially not for a unanimous decision. Unanimous decision is way out of the park. A unanimous decision should not even come anywhere near this fight. And as you can hear, I'm animated because I'm hyped for this division. I want to see the big fights. I want to see these things, But then it's almost as if when the fans suddenly develop a newfound, excitement in boxing, or develop a newfound interest in boxing, something just comes along and just makes it apparent that everybody is just wasting their time. Nobody would have been mad with a draw. Nobody will be mad with a draw. Nobody might be mad with a majority decision, meaning maybe one judge saw it a different way and then two judges. Okay, it's like, okay, understandable. Because when people call fights robberies, it's not because, the fighter they wanted to win lost, but because when you look at the details, like I say, the devil is always in the details. When you look at the details and you see 116 to 112, it's like, what were the judges watching? What were they watching? Where did you find 8 rounds for Devin Haney to win? And then the final point being Devin Haney's father saying there was no need for a rematch. It's clear as day that Devin Haney won. That just it's difficult to not see the conspiracy theory that people say is happening in the 135 division. It's difficult to act like you don't see it. It's difficult to act like you don't see these organizations or these organizers trying to build these younger fighters up, knowing the fact that they can make a lot of money from them. It's the social media era. So social media hype is what makes fights these days. If a person like Jake Paul and KSI and Logan Paul and all these other guys can jump into boxing and make a killing on the pay-per-view, it's only right that the investors in boxing protect their largest assets, which is the fighters that bring the most eyes to the ring. And even if some people are insisting Devin Haney won this fight fair and square, the argument is, where did you find 8 rounds to give to Devin Haney? And then, how could you score it 116, 112 when every single professional fighter that watched that fight said Lomachenko was the clear winner? Even those that placed a bet on Devin Haney to win. That is what I'm saying, is even those that made money from Devin Haney winning, we are laughing to the bank with their money, but we're also telling everybody, listen, I was just lucky because Loma actually won that fight. So it becomes difficult to really look at boxing with a clear conscience, without thinking that everything is rigged. And if a fight is close, it's understandable. Okay, if the champion is in a close fight and the challenger doesn't do enough to take the belt off the champion, then cool, you can give the champion the win, right? But then when the challenger does everything, wins the most rounds, throws the most punches, not just throws the most punches, forces the action in the fight, which are minor details, but goes ahead to land the most punches, land the most effective punches, put their opponent in more trouble than their opponent put them, and force the fight on their opponent for majority of the rounds. How can you not look at that? And some people are of the opinion saying, well, if you want to take the belt from the champion, you have to beat him fair and square. Boxing is a game of 12 rounds. Okay, what it means is that whoever wins the majority of those rounds wins the fight. It's not about you have to knock the champion out. No, if you have to knock the champion out, it should be one round, fight to your death. But that's not what boxing is. That's not what any fight is, in fact. Any professional fight in any professional setting. You fight round by round because the fight card is scored round by round. So you can't be talking about beating the champion fair and square as far as knocking him out as your only excuse to give Devin Haney the win. So it just becomes difficult to look at boxing with a clear conscience. The final question is, does Devin Haney beat Gervonta Tank Davis? Does Devin Haney beat Shakur Stevenson? Let me know what you think in the comment section. Like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you next time on the Boiling Ring.